How to be happy in every situation. The Old Woman's Story. In the quiet hills of a forgotten village nestled between ancient oaks and whispering streams, there lived an old woman named Elara. She was no ordinary soul. At the ripe age of 87, her face was a map of deep wrinkles, each line etched by decades of sun, sorrow, and unyielding joy. Her home was a modest cottage of weathered stone, its roof sagging like an old friend's shoulders, surrounded by a wild garden that bloomed defiantly against the harsh mountain winds. Villagers spoke of her in hushed tones, not out of fear, but out of a strange mix of awe and envy. For Elara was known as the happiest woman in the valley, a beacon of light who smiled through storms that would break lesser hearts. Elara hadn't always been this way. Born into poverty during a time when the world seemed determined to crush dreams underfoot, her life was a tapestry woven with threads of hardship. As a child, she lost her parents to a merciless fever that swept through the village like a thief in the night. Orphaned at 10, she was shuttled between reluctant relatives, learning early that survival meant scraping joy from the barren soil of loss. "Happiness isn't a gift," she'd later say with a twinkle in her faded blue eyes. "It's a seed you plant in the cracks of your pain." By her 20s, Elara married Thomas, a kind-hearted blacksmith whose laughter could chase away the gloomiest dusk. They built a life together, simple but sweet. Mornings filled with the scent of fresh bread baking in their clay oven. Evenings spent dancing barefoot under the stars to the rhythm of a handmade fiddle. But fate, that cruel weaver, had other plans. A brutal winter famine claimed Tomas's forge, forcing them to sell everything they owned. Then came the war, a distant rumble that echoed too close when Tomas was conscripted and never returned. Elara buried her love in a shallow grave on the hillside, the earth too frozen to dig deeper, her heart shattering like the ice around it. Alone again, with a belly swollen with their unborn child, Elara faced the unforgiving world. The villagers, once neighbors, turned away, whispering of curses and bad luck. She gave birth to little Mira in the dead of night, the child's cries mingling with the howl of wolves outside. Raising Mira was a battle against hunger and despair. There were nights when Elara rocked her daughter by the flickering light of a single candle, tears streaming down her cheeks as she sang lullabies of meadows she could barely remember. "Why does it hurt so much, Mama?" Mira once asked, her tiny fingers tracing the scars on Elara's hands from years of toil. Elara paused, her voice steady as the ancient oaks. "Because life is a river, my sweet. It rushes wild and deep, carrying stones that bruise us. But happiness, that's the sunlight dancing on the water's surface. You choose to look up, even when the current pulls you under." Years turned like pages in a well-worn book. Mira grew into a spirited girl, then a young woman, and finally left the village for the city's promise of opportunity. Elara waved goodbye from the cottage door, her smile unwavering, though her heart ached with the emptiness of an empty nest. Sickness came next, a creeping rheumatism that twisted her joints like gnarled roots, making every step a reminder of fragility. The garden, once her pride, grew wild and untamed, mirroring the chaos within. One autumn evening, as golden leaves carpeted the ground like forgotten wishes, a fierce storm battered the hills. Thunder roared like an angry god, lightning splitting the sky, and rain hammered the roof until it leaked in relentless drips. Elara sat by the hearth, her shawl wrapped tight against the chill, watching the fire sputter and nearly die. In that moment of utter vulnerability, as the wind howled her loneliness and the pain in her bones screamed for surrender, Elara felt the weight of it all crash down. "Why me?" she whispered to the shadows. "Why must joy always slip through my fingers like sand?" The fire popped, sending sparks upward like fleeting stars, and in their glow, Elara's eyes fell on an old cracked teapot on the mantel, a gift from Thomas on their wedding day. It held no tea, no warmth, but it held memories. The steam of shared mornings, the clink of laughter over steaming cups, the quiet strength of love that had endured. She rose slowly, each movement a quiet defiance, and shuffled to the door. Pushing it open against the gale, Elara stepped into the storm. Rain lashed her face, cold and unforgiving, soaking her to the bone. But she didn't cower. Instead, she tilted her head back and laughed, a deep, belly-shaking sound that cut through the tempest like a blade. "Is this all you've got?" she shouted to the heavens. "I've danced in droughts, sung through silences, and loved through losses that would drown a soul. You think a little water will wash away my light?" The lightning flashed, illuminating her upturned face, and for the first time, Elara saw the beauty in the chaos. The way the rain nourished the parched earth, the thunder's rumble echoing the beat of a wild heart, the storm's fury reminding her she was alive, fiercely, gloriously so. From that night onward, Elara's happiness became a legend, not because her circumstances changed, but because her gaze did. She taught the village children by the stream, her stories weaving lessons like vines. "Happiness in every situation," she'd say, her voice a gentle brook over stones, "isn't about waiting for the sun to break through. It's about carrying your own lantern inside. When grief comes, and it will, like a shadow at noon, don't fight it. Sit with it, like an old friend come to visit. Ask it what it's teaching you. Resilience in the bend of a broken branch, gratitude in the bloom after frost." One crisp spring day, as cherry blossoms painted the hills pink, a weary traveler named Liam stumbled into the village. He was a man broken by betrayal, his business ruined by a false friend, his family scattered by arguments he couldn't mend. Despair clung to him like morning mist, and he sought out Elara, drawn by tales of her unshakable joy. He found her in the garden, kneeling despite her aching knees, coaxing a stubborn rosebush back to life with soil-caked hands. "Tell me your secret, old one," Liam pleaded, his voice cracking. "How do you smile when the world conspires to steal it away?" Elara straightened, brushing dirt from her apron, and fixed him with eyes that held the depth of oceans. She led him to a weathered bench beneath the oaks, where the stream babbled secrets to the wind. "Come, sit," she said softly. "I'll tell you not with words alone, but with the story of my scars." And so she did, detailing the fever that stole her parents, the war that claimed Tomas, the isolation of raising Mira alone, the storm that nearly extinguished her flame. With each tale she wove in the threads of triumph, the wild berries she foraged as a child, turning scarcity into feasts of imagination, the letters from Tomas read until the paper frayed each word a spark against the dark, Mira's first steps, a victory dance over sorrow's grave, the storm's rain, a baptism that washed away doubt and revealed her inner fire. "But it's not the victories that made me happy," Elara confessed, her hand resting on Liam's like a mother's. "It's the choice, every dawn, to greet the day as a canvas, not a cage. When pain arrives, and oh it will, sharp as a thorn, breathe into it. Name it. Hello, loss, what gift do you bring? For in every shadow lies a lesson, in every tear a pearl of wisdom. Happiness blooms not in perfection, but in presence. Plant your feet where you stand, look for the light in the ordinary, the warmth of sun on your skin, the kindness of a stranger's nod, the quiet rhythm of your breath. And when the night feels endless, remember, even stars shine brightest against the black." Liam listened, tears mingling with the dew on the bench, and as Elara spoke, something shifted within him, a crack in the armor of his despair, letting in the first sliver of hope. He stayed in the village for weeks, helping in the garden, learning to mend not just fences, but the fences around his heart. When he left, his steps were lighter, his smile tentative but true. Word spread of the traveler's transformation, and soon others came. Widows with hollow eyes, dreamers dashed by failure, lovers lost to time, each seeking the old woman's elixir. Elara never turned them away. Her cottage became a haven, filled with the murmur of shared stories and the scent of herbal tea brewed from her garden's bounty. She lived her final years as she had her first, fully, fiercely present. When the end came on a golden autumn afternoon, surrounded by the children she'd mentored, now grown into bearers of her light, Elara slipped away with a smile, her lantern burning bright to the last. And so the village endures, a testament to her truth. Happiness in every situation is not a distant shore, but the very ground beneath your feet. It asks only that you pause, plant your seeds of gratitude, and choose to dance, in drought or deluge, in joy or in the quiet ache of alone. For, as Elara knew, the heart that learns to bloom in winter's grasp will flourish eternally, turning every moment into a masterpiece of the soul.